It's a simple question in political science that people spend a lot of time trying to answer, and a lot more time talking in circles about on the airwaves. And that question relates to which type of party will win which type of region and which types of voters. And a simple map like this, which shows a sea of red counties with more cows than people, does not do this question justice. So let's take a look and see where each of the parties actually hold their strength. And the first important thing to note is that it's not so simple as looking at those waves of red, because those waves of red are generally not well populated. This map is better because it shows where the voters live. A red seat here means that there are net Republican votes coming out of the county, whereas a blue seat means that there are net Democrat votes coming out of the county. And what we see is mostly gray, where the amount of voters in Thomas County, Kansas, largely fades into statistical noise compared to the big vote getters. For Democrats, these are easy to spot. They are the urban areas, where there is a clear majority of the people who prefer their party, and they are tightly confined geographic areas. But for Republicans, they are also reliant on large counties with lots of votes to get elected. Their counties are generally more suburban, and some of their strongest performances come right outside of the major cities we all know are so liberal. From Ocean County, New Jersey, to El Paso, Colorado, to Montgomery, Texas. It is these suburbs which allow Republicans to actually win elections. For the United States is a heavily urban country, with more than 70% of our population living in some sort of metro area or another. Because of that, and because the votes are so heavily concentrated, it is perhaps even more useful to take a look at how disproportionate each county's elections are. That is to say, which party gains more votes compared to the percentage of the state's population they represent. This is not a map of who wins which counties. This is a map of how strong each party is in each county. And we see the red rural regions and the blue cities and various areas with a high minority population. For example, the Mississippi River Basin in, Mississippi. But we also see a new gray that seems to permeate a lot of this map and a lot of those large counties we saw earlier. This gray is that suburban region of areas where the battles between the parties are fought on even footing, where the relative strength of Democrats to Republicans is even. But it wasn't always this way. It used to be that these large suburban districts were massively in favor of Republicans. So what changed? Well, party alignment on the basis of education. There are really two parts to this. The first part is taking a look at how education interacts with the size of counties. This is plotted on a log-log scale. If you don't plot it this way, it looks like a mess of points at the bottom of the screen. But there is a clear positive correlation between education levels and the size of, or the amount of votes your county cast in 2016. This is for a variety of reasons that are beyond the scope of this video, but suffice it to say that educated people like to live near high-paying jobs in cities. Now, this poses a problem for the Republican Party that was not posed to it 16 or 18 years ago in the time of Bush. Because back then, the percentage of voters who were willing to vote for a Republican was not heavily dependent on their education level. in every election since 2000, going to 2004, and then to 2008, and to 2012, and 2016, that trend line, which talks about how much more likely you are to vote for a Democrat if you live in a county with a certain percentage of college education, gets steeper and steeper and steeper. We can see this too in this plot of the Democratic relative strength versus education in 2016. We see that educated areas are very disproportionately likely to back Democrats, even in places that are not yet voting for Democrats. The bottom has not fallen out for Republicans in the suburbs yet. There are still places like Magnolia, West Virginia, or Jefferson, West Virginia, or Pickens, Alabama, where that floor could still continue to drop out, where the Democratic strength is not yet maxed, where the seats are still voting for Republicans, but the demographic trends of these areas is against them. We saw this begin to play out in 2018, where for the first time in 40 years, Democrats won Maricopa County, one of the largest counties in the country, home to Phoenix and its suburbs, along with everything else in Arizona. This will continue to happen, where the Republican strength continues to erode among these suburban counties, and the gains that they make among working class white voters will not make up for it. And this is a direct result of populist conservatism, which is the thing that these educated suburbanites react so harshly to. How does this affect the 2020 election? Well, it shows that the demographics of the country, even not factoring into account race, are increasingly hostile to Republicans being elected, especially on a presidential level. As long as the educated counties continue to be large and educated voters continue to grow to despise the Republican Party more and more, the electoral battleground will shift to states that we once thought were redder and redder. Either way, I'm the Milquetoast Pundit. Thank you for watching.